this first one is last year. Wait, no, last to last year when my grandmother was dying, and was dying. It was a process. I wrote this then. 91 and 60 something are complaining about newspapers. Not news, just the papers themselves. Water crashes in the bathroom, 54 is in there now. 60 something too is a rhythmic anklet tinkle between kitchen and not kitchen. There are two temples on this street. A clanging bell signals someone's attempts to bribe at least one out of 66,000 gods. I hope it works out for them because we are long past transaction. This is a death watch. Trickle and flood, in and out, we march of her room. Not that she notices, my once soft grandmother. Muzzled by her own oxygen mask, tube-fed, swathed in septic skin, she lets out a guttural cry. I learned precision from the swell and fall of her voice, and now she lets out guttural cries. Don't go near her, the nurse cautions, as though I know how not to touch my grandmother. I know the feel of her micro-creased, perfectly hairless skin, the smell of powder in the folds of her neck, the excess sacred ash that she rubs into the space of stomach glorified by sari. The powder bottle is in the bedside cabinet. She doesn't smell of it. My nose is just being maudlin. I want her to sit up, properly teach her kidneys the importance of duty, laugh and waggle her thumb at death. He is not the only immortal in this room. But if my grandmother cannot be immortal, then no one can. 53 has been on guard duty all night. Others will now take over. I build this memorial out of dry words. My brother is somewhere in the city, driving towards heartbreak. Water crashes in the bathroom where 91 is bathing now. Chennai city is quiet, tentative, and the temples of Delhi have muted their bells. This is a death watch. This is my grandmother's death watch. This is not titled. Most of my poems aren't titled. So. I love him, I think. Later, I realized that was the second thought when he called. It's usually the first. The next time he calls, I dutifully remember that I love him, and that he doesn't, and that I've got work, in that order. I say I'll call back, and I do. I listened to the lady of the wires tell me that जिस व्यक्ति को आप कॉल कर रहे हैं वो आपका कॉल नहीं ले पा रहे हैं. I love him, and I shake my head and turn out the lights. I pride myself on keeping my promises, and I promised that I would always love him. I never promised that I wouldn't break his heart, though. Look, when your self is a tangled ball of wool and your brain is a bag of cats' nostrils twitching with the crazy, it's hard to keep track of every promise you ever made. And these are especially tangled up. But I am keeping this one, and he's saying it now to someone else. I love him. And that drops a curtain. I don't know how not to love him. And when I'm done learning that, I don't know who he's allowed to be, except the man I loved. This is what happens when someone enters your life with a metro card and a voice named pending. This is how film sequences end in real life, with sleeping pills and therapy and not enough music and too many miles. I love him is the third thought that I remember to have when I pass our cafe, and my phone rings. I hit the volume button and let the summer heat wrap around me like a blanket, like torture, like peace. This one is actually one I like quite a bit. It's based on a real life incident. So it's called Australia versus Afghanistan and Uber. Mr. Shafiullah? It's not really a question. As I slide into the back seat, there's a second between his yeah and the engine revving back up. My eyes are on my phone as we take a U-turn, lancing buttery smooth up Earlsden Avenue North. Past a pub with a chicken tikka and just enough masala to recall a Delhi street. Aap Pakistan se ho beta? It's instinct now to smile up at the rearview mirror. Nahi, India se, Delhi. Once I loved a boy with eyes so dark they could pin down the stars, but there is no word to describe the brightening of 60-year-old eyes when he hears my tongue curl around a cousin of his own. There's just 15 minutes to the station, even in a UK small town version of traffic. But we talk like we got ours, about Kabul and my bindi and about sickening for that thing we call home. I tell him it's been 10 whole months since I took a full breath. I'm going to now. I don't tell him about the therapy, the screaming, the suicide notes, but his mirror eyes brim with sympathy. He understands. He hasn't been home in 20 years. A crust forms up my spine, but he talks past it, telling me he's been to Delhi, jab main chota tha. And he tells me how beautiful it was and how the people were so kind. Delhi is not kind. So I know he's not talking about my city at all. Kabhi Delhi phir aayega. I don't say as I slip out, it's not Delhi for which he sickens. 75,000 strong, it feels like every Afghan in the UK is crammed into Bristol. Did Mr. Shafiullah take a day, scrape together the funds to cheer on the nomad team, the rookies, against the world champions? Or did he spend his day driving homesick, self-satisfied kids around a UK small town? Growing up, Afghanistan meant Osama bin Laden, 9/11, Al-Qaeda. Now it means Muhammad Nabi, Muhammad Shehzad, Rashid Khan's homemade brilliance. It means Mr. Shafiullah, patiently holding on to his children's faces as they grow up across the world. It means 75,000 Mr. Shafiullahs, checking ticket prices, only to close the tab and make a bank transfer instead, every day, for 20 years. Thank you. So once in Write Out Loud, the theory, actually the theme, we have like a theme kind of thing. It was color. So this is one of the poems that I wrote and I didn't expect it to be good, but I quite like it. So for 15 years, I pretended that blue was my favorite color. It used to be red, crimson actually. But that was too girly, too soft, too much of everything I was trying not to be. I was a girl growing up in a rat's nest of brothers, and girly was not what I wanted to be. Just before my 15th birthday, I permitted myself to like purple. Something about 3-year-old fingers picking out crayons and another 15-year-old showing me how to mix colors, how to rub blue crayon on pink crayon to get purple. So I bought the purple top. It was fluffy and fluttery, and I bought a pair of no-nonsense black jeans to save my reputation. I wore copper lipstick at my college freshers over a purple shirt. But I borrowed my dad's yellow tie and over blue jeans. I liked that tie. I'd been eyeing it for years. It had little teddy bears on it, and Dad paired it with dark blue shirts on days when he didn't feel every day of his 50 years. My dance teacher squealed when I showed her my tube of red lipstick. 2 years later, she grinned at my purple mat and told someone how she always chooses the right colors, na? I was 20 and eyeing a black lipstick online when I wore a pink blouse, blue jeans, green shoes, and that purple mat, and someone asked me what my favorite color was. It wasn't small talk. I gave it some thought and answered after another 2 years, when I was in another country, and the color of my skin was suddenly other, suddenly too thin for the cold weather and colder eyes. My favorite color is brown. All that color theory, all those experiments to bring me closer to things I had learned were beautiful. And I picked the one that means safety instead. So this one was written in response to a chapter in a book called Remnants of a Separation by Anchal Malhotra, and the chapter was called The Pearls of Azra Haq. Azra Haq was a refugee who moved from India to Pakistan during partition. Azra Haq, madam, with your dupatta wound thrice around your neck like Porphyria's hair, a Raja's pearls dent your neck. Blood and fear are so thick in the air, there should be a shark nearby, but sharks are too kind to do the things that you have seen. In the coming days, you will read in Dawn and even your local Urdu daily about the body part garbage dumps. The river's taste of your own identity crisis. Like you, some of the rivers now start and end on two sides of a brand new line on a brand new map. Azra Bibi, don't lock your pearls away. You bore them across your throat. You bore them on your throat across the burning border. A country ago, you had the set. And now there's only this necklace and the memories that will choke you, like Porphyria's hair. If you forget to swallow them down, if you forget. Azra Haq, madam, you are another person now. Your pearls encircle another throat now. There is a lump there that will not melt under Lahore's many summers. It looks like the ones your sisters have. Yes, it's the exact same one. Except that it doesn't carry the dents of your Raja's pearls from across a burning border. Please, madam, don't lock your pearls away. So this, I was just slow day at work and I wrote this there. It's called Obituary. I'm not. It's all I could think about with the title. You are an outline on blank scraps. I embroider you into poetry, sprinkle you like a garnish. You're too much. I'm afraid that you'll bleed across a full sheet, coloring anything else I try to say. It felt like that. At times when I tried to think past you, when I tried to look past you, you had bled into my past, present, and into versions of the future that I was starting to want. It felt like that. When I tried to fit you on one page and realized I was halfway through a novel, or a grocery list of everything I could ever want. I have expensive tastes, but there are some prices I can't pay. Is it because I don't have enough, or I didn't want you enough, or is it because I am not enough? Wanting you is a rousing cut from a hot blade. Wanting you is a need, is a new emptiness without you to fill it. Wanting you is sweet until I realize that I'm bleeding. I am bleeding and you will never want all of the things that I am bleeding. You have no hands for it. I am always offering more than they can hold. To hold you is to school myself in what's allowed and what's out of line. Holding you is teaching myself how to let you go. Practice. It is breaking my heart in my own chest because you're too careful not to take it. You're so careful for someone who tells me that he breaks everything he touches. You're too careful with me to know that you're already handling only pieces. There are a few in your back pocket. Not many. Just scraps, really. So this one is titled, this is the last one, it's titled Strawberry/Cocaine. Strawberry, he calls me. Too fun to be vanilla, too sweet to be dark chocolate. I tell him I'm too dark to be his sweet treat. He thinks he's too cocaine to be my white knight. And I laugh till my sides ache because knights belong in the chessboard and I don't play games. But he shakes his head because of course he knows better. And he tells me to run out his bedroom door. He's no good for bright-eyed girls who write soft words. The night I handcuff him to his window bar and map his uncharted skin with my mouth, his breath sounds like desert wind, like the sighing of waves against new discovered land. And he looks at me, like I'm a whiskey, ice cream, cigarette smoke, silk and spike woman. And I feel innocent, so innocent, poised under his tornado. He calls himself too cocaine, but his kink is kissing my hair, pulling me close, spooning. His kink is hourly texts of tea, is morning chai as I order a cab, is extra desserts in a Swiggy order. He calls himself too cocaine, but he draws back as I giggle about how I'm so fucking drunk. And my heart bends, because my kink is safety, and safe is too dangerous for a man who won't make himself less cocaine for me. Thank you.